My jaw almost hit the floor the night I checked my security cam and saw Karen, the HOA president herself, lounging half-naked in my private sauna like she'd just checked into the Four Seasons. Picture this: towel barely holding on, rose straight from the bottle, cucumber slices on her eyes, humming along to my meditation playlist like she owned the joint. And then, as if she hadn't gone full Goldilocks already, she leans over and whispers into her phone. He'll never know. His place is basically community property. Yeah, that's the moment I decided she was about to learn the true meaning of private. Maybe with a little help from a cloud of skunk gas. Let me back up a sec. 3 weeks before that circus, I was out on my back deck, soaking in the quiet, exactly the reason I built this place. I'm not your typical suburbanite. I'm a war vet, and I bought land out here on the edge of the HOA's reach for one reason. I wanted peace, not pastel lawn signs and friendly reminders about my mailbox. My property is outside the HOA. I got it notarized, certified, laminated. Hell, I even tattooed it on my calf one wild night, just for laughs. The point is, I made sure I'd never have to deal with the petty tyranny that runs most neighborhoods. So, when I built my sauna, tucked behind a wall of cedar trees, way off the fence line, I went overboard on the paperwork. Permits, surveys, fire inspections, every I dotted and T crossed. It was my sanctuary, the one place I could turn my brain off after years of living with PTSD and civilian noise. That sauna was my medicine, my peace. Which is why, when I saw Karen out there with her clipboard and her binoculars, pacing my property line like a general, I got a real bad feeling. She'd pulled stunts before. First time, she tried to find me for porch lights that disrupted aesthetic harmony. They were soft amber LEDs, basically fireflies on a string. When I told her, real polite, that she had zero authority here, she dropped a violation notice in my mailbox anyway. Didn't work. So she tried to smear me at the next HOA meeting, called me antisocial for skipping her barbecue, where, rumor has it, she served tofu sliders and delivered a PowerPoint on lawn heights. Still didn't work. Next, she had a crew trim an old oak on my side of the fence, claimed it was outside silhouette standards. That oak had more right to be here than any of us. I had to threaten legal action just to get her to back off. So when I put up the sauna, I made it crystal clear with a sign. Private property. No entry. Not that she ever cared about signs. The first hint something was off came from my security cam notification while I was out grocery shopping. Figured it was a deer. Nope, there she was. Towel, wine, barefoot, marching up to the sauna. She checks around like she's dodging snipers, then just strolls in. On the inside cam, I see her hook up a Bluetooth speaker, swap my meditation playlist for elevator music, and flop down like Cleopatra on vacation. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't her first time. She looked too comfortable, too casual. The line that really got me was, "I'll never know," which told me this wasn't just trespass. This was a regular routine. My blood boiled, not just because she broke in, but because she acted like she had every right. Here I am, a guy who spent years dodging IEDs, doing my best to heal, and now I'm supposed to come home and get trampled by a woman with a clipboard? Nah, not happening. That night, I couldn't sleep. Just kept seeing her smug face, sipping my wine, acting like my peace was her playground. I realized this wasn't about the sauna. It was about boundaries, about her thinking she could walk right over anybody. So yeah, maybe I went a little petty. But after everything, I figured she had it coming. Called up my old buddy Darren, who runs wildlife control. Years back, he helped me evict some skunks from under the deck. I asked if he still got those scent diffusers they used to scare off raccoons. "You're gonna skunk her?" he howls. "No, I'm gonna teach her what private property really smells like." By week's end, I had my hands on a diffuser that would make Satan himself back up. I tested it in the garage, regretted it instantly. Had to air out the house for an hour, but man, it worked. Wired it under the sauna bench, synced it to my phone, tweaked the motion sensor so it'd only trigger for people, not squirrels. And then I waited. I wasn't hoping for justice. I was counting on it. Sure enough, next morning, Karen leaves a fresh violation notice on my door, said my private property sign was a visual disturbance. She even attached a photo, circled it in red like some forensic detective. It was both hilarious and infuriating. Invade my sanctuary, fine. Cite me for trying to keep you out. That's a new level. I crumpled the notice, tossed it, and started planning my counterstrike. I wasn't about to have a shouting match on the sidewalk. Karen needed something unforgettable, something she'd walk herself into. That night, I actually went to the HOA meeting. Place smelled like wet carpet and broken dreams. Karen perched up front, smug as ever. When new business came up, I stood, tablet in hand, and played the footage. Her walking onto my property, unlocking my sauna, and making herself at home. Gasps. Someone choked on their LaCroix. Karen tried to protest, said it was taken out of context, claimed she thought it was a shared amenity. Amenity? I said. My locked, surveyed, off-limits sauna, behind a privacy fence? Even Harold, the guy who usually sleeps through meetings, piped up. That's trespassing. Karen stammered, something about signage and property lines, but the board looked horrified. I could see her pride shrivel right there. But I wasn't done. Next day, I did one last check on the trap, adjusted the cam for a perfect angle, double-checked the diffuser, even added a gentle auto-close to the door. Showtime. 2 days later, she's back. White towel, green face mask, slippers. She creeps along the path, checks the yard, slips inside. I watch from my kitchen, eggs frying, and as soon as she's settled, boom. I tap the remote. A cloud of pure skunk funk drifts out. 5 seconds, she wrinkles her nose. 10 seconds, full confusion. 15 seconds, horror. She bolts up, slips on her own towel, starts yanking at the door, which, thanks to a little humidity, is sticking just enough to give her a scare. She finally bursts out, screaming, arms flailing, face mask dripping. Sprints across my yard like she's being chased by hornets. Leaves her wine, dignity, and most of her towel behind. Every second caught on camera. Neighbor Harold caught the finish line on his phone, called me later. Man, you owe me a beer. That was better than Netflix. Karen, of course, calls the cops. I'm on my porch with a mug when the officers show. She's ranting about chemical attacks. I show them the footage, the diffuser, the paperwork. One cop's biting his lip, the other says, "Ma'am, this is private property. You're lucky it wasn't an actual skunk." Karen storms off, towel over her head like a reality show villain. Cop turns to me. "Wish more people handled things like you." That night, I rewatched the footage. Not for revenge, just pure, healing laughter. I'd turned her arrogance into her undoing, and she did all the work herself. Next day, the neighborhood's buzzing. Harold's video hits the Facebook group. Within hours, Karen's mad dash is a meme. TikTok remixes, auto-tune versions, someone even made a ringtone. She's dubbed Steamroom Karen. I should have felt bad, but after years of her nonsense? Not a chance. I figured maybe now she'd finally back off. Nope. That afternoon, I get a cease and desist letter, supposedly from her brother-in-law, threatening lawsuits, demanding I apologize, tear down my sauna, and delete the footage. My lawyer, an actual professional, reads it and goes, "If this was any more amateur, it'd come with crayons." We decide to sit on it. But word spreads. Neighbors start sharing their own Karen stories. Harold, fined for his memorial wreath. Susan, bullied over her porch swing. Another family for leaving balloons up after their kid's birthday. Turns out, everyone's got a Karen horror story. I call a special HOA board meeting. The bylaws let you do it if enough people sign. Banana bread and pot roast sealed the deal. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was neighborhood sanity on the line. Thursday night, clubhouse is packed. Karen tries to control the narrative, rambling about slander and internet misinformation. No one interrupts. When I get my turn, I lay out the evidence, video, violation slips, that farcical cease and desist. Then other neighbors speak up, story after story. The board listens. Lorraine, Karen's only real supporter, looks ready to disappear. The vote isn't even close. Karen's out as president. Replaced by Ray, the local legend who once rescued a raccoon with nothing but a rake and Pop-Tarts. Everyone cheers. Karen storms out, clipboard thrown to the ground, hissing about lawyers. No one follows. That night, I stand in my backyard, cold air brushing my face, and for the first time since I moved in, it feels like home. The sauna glows softly, finally a sanctuary again. Karen's reign is over. For now. People like her don't vanish. They stew, plot, and maybe someday return. But this time, the neighborhood's ready. I'm ready. If she ever comes back, I've got another canister labeled extra strength. The next day felt like a holiday. Neighbors waved. Kids hung paper lanterns. Music played past 9 p.m., no complaints. The air felt lighter. But Karen stayed holed up in her house, blinds closed, mail piling up. She tried one last Hail Mary, filing complaints with the county, but I had every permit and safety report ready to go. The inspector came by, laughed when he saw the skunk weapon. "We get weirder calls," he told me. When she tried to file for a restraining order, claimed weaponized environmental stimuli, the clerk laughed so hard he had to step outside. Her case never made it to court. Meanwhile, Karen became an internet legend. The Skunk Avenger story made the rounds. People from all over started sharing their own HOA nightmares. By the time the spring block party rolled around, Karen's house was dark, for sale sign on the lawn, her car gone. I got handed beers, neighbors clapped me on the back, someone even gave me a candle called Victory Mist. Not what I'd planned. All I wanted was peace. That night, I sat in my sauna, heat soaking into my bones, and finally exhaled. The next morning, I hung a new sign on the door. Trespassers will be skunked. Not just a warning, but a story, a memory, a marker of the time I fought for my peace without ever raising my voice. The HOA got better. No more petty violations, just real improvements. Kids played louder. Dogs barked longer. People lived freer. I finally felt at home, not just because the law said it was mine, but because the community finally respected it. And that, more than anything, was the sweetest part of all. So let me ask you, when does standing up for yourself cross the line? Is there ever a right way to fight back against folks like Karen? Share your stories, your thoughts, your justice, because sometimes the best revenge is just living free and maybe, just maybe, a little whiff of skunk.